It's finally here. UFC 320. Ankalaev versus Pereira 2. Sick card in all honesty. A lot of good matchups on this card. It's a good change in pace from what the last 2 weeks have been for us UFC fans. I feel like there's going to be some potentially good upsets on this card too. So what I'm going to do is, at the usual, I'm going to be going through every fight, starting with the first prelim of the night. Let's jump right into it. So we got Brogan Walker versus Veronica Hardy. I'm going to go with Veronica Hardy. Pretty underrated, unranked UFC fighter in the women's flyweight division. Always been pretty technical, pretty decorated striking background. Very explosive. The problem for Veronica in the past has just been the physicality of her opponents. I mean, I honestly don't know why she doesn't just cut to strawweight. I feel like she'd have much better success there. Definitely become ranked at strawweight as opposed to this, because she's giving up a height advantage in most of her fights. Not in this fight, though. I mean, the pretty similar height, 5'4", but she has given up a 3-inch reach advantage, so this is an easy one, though, because, I mean, Brogan Walker, let's be honest, like, she's just not very good. I haven't seen any evolution in her game since the Ultimate Fighter. She lost in the finals to Juliana Miller, who's won, like, a fight in the UFC since Brogan Walker, since winning the show. Dude, like, she's not good on the ground. She's very, very poor striking on the feet. And I just haven't seen her evolve whatsoever. I'm honestly surprised Brogan Walker is still in the UFC. I know that sounds harsh. She trains out of a weird place like Taiwan. I think that's where she lives. And come on. I spoke about this the last card. You have to travel to get good looks, training-wise. Brogan just doesn't have that. Veronica is much more well-rounded. Trains out of a good camp there in England. Is trained by Dan Hardy as well. Obviously, her husband. So this is a pretty easy one. Veronica Hardy, I'm going to say 30-27. Pretty dominant one-sided decision. I just don't think Brogan is just... Like, there's been no evolution. So this is an easy one. Veronica Hardy decision. Let's move on. Ramiz Brahimaj versus Austin Vanderford. I'm going to go with Austin Vanderford. Assuming the weight cut doesn't take it out of him, he's going to be the bigger, stronger guy. Much better grappler. Brahimaj, he's kind of a journeyman at this point. He's like a win one, lose one, win one, lose one kind of guy. Don't get me wrong, he's well-rounded, but like the fact that, I almost said Ateba Gautier. The fact that Thimba Garembo was able to just grapple him for 3 rounds pretty easily tells me Austin Vanderford is going to do the same and most likely finish Brahimaj on the ground. I say he probably gets a ground and pound TKO. I'm going to go with round 2. Brahimaj just doesn't have the grappling to hang with a guy like Austin Vanderford. He's a pretty good up-and-coming prospect from what we saw in his UFC debut with Nicolay Veretennikov. So I'm going to go Austin Vanderford round 2 TKO. Moving up. Punahele Soriano versus, the guy we just spoke about, Nicolay Veretennikov. I'm going to go with Punahele Soriano. Veretennikov is just not that good, right? I'm trying to think of who his last fight was. Oh, yeah, he did beat the guy who came up from middleweight. It was, oh my God, what is his name? I cannot for the life of me remember. Francisco Prado came up from lightweight to welterweight. Dude, that was one of the worst fights I've ever seen. Both guys, the decision-making in that fight was awful. Both guys would be dominating one area of the fight, and then they would just, like, fumble the bag and completely just decide to go into their opponent's strengths, right? Like, Veretennikov would be picking apart Prado on the feet and then just throw a stupid spinning attack and get taken down. Prado would get the takedown, be landing nasty ground and pound, and then just decide to get back to his feet or do some dumb shit like roll for a submission and get reversed. And then Veretennikov would just stand, right? So, not a very high IQ fighter in Veretennikov. Punahele Soriano, pretty well-rounded. I think he is an All-American. He's an All-American, so the grappling is going to be there. He's going to get Nicolay Veretennikov down. If he does get Nicolay Veretennikov down, he's not going to fumble the bag. He's going to keep top position, beat him up on the ground. I also think he can knock him out on the feet because he does have good power on the feet, improved striking. I'm gonna say Punahele Soriano round, dude. Just by how bad I think Veretennikov is and how poor his decision making is, I'm gonna pick Punahele Soriano to knock him out in round 1. Moving up, Patchy Mix, Jakub Wiklacz. I think I said that right. I think I nailed that. Look, I know the stock on Patchy Mix is not very high right now. Obviously he got picked apart in his debut against Mario Batista, but like, I think he's going to be good in this one. I think he got those jitters out of the way. He didn't get finished or anything like that. He stayed in there for 3 rounds. Had a decent 3rd round where he looked like he was starting to, gain some momentum for himself, come back into the fight, but it was just too late at that point. I just don't think Wiklacz is explosive, is quick, and well-rounded as a guy like Mario Batista. Like, I don't think he's that good of a prospect. It's like we keep giving these prospects like big fights in their debuts. Patchy made sense because he had good wins on the regional scene, right? Against Magomedov, guys like that. Wiklacz, he just doesn't have that X factor, I feel like, to beat a guy like Patchy Mix. So I think Patchy Mix, I'm going to pick Patchy Mix by decision in this fight. I think he'll handle it on the feet. Wiklacz, he's not going to have to worry about explosivity from Wiklacz. I think he can initiate the ground game and control the fight throughout. So I'll go a 29-28. I don't think it's going to be super dominant, but I just don't think Wiklacz has anything for Patchy at this point in his career. I don't think he's that good of a prospect. I think Patty gets the 29-28 here. Moving up. Oh, man, my eye's twitching. Oh. Macy Chiasson versus Yana Santos. I'm going to go Macy Chiasson. I believe she's coming off the loss to Ketlen Vieira. Ketlen Vieira is pretty underrated in that division. We saw what Ketlen Vieira did with Kayla Harrison. That was Kayla Harrison's toughest fight in the UFC to date. So, not a bad look for a loss there. Yana Santos coming off a win over, like a 40-year-old Miesha Tate? I don't know, bro. I look at Yana and it's like, I don't think she has the tools and the physicality. It is going to have the physicality in this matchup to beat Macy Chiasson. Macy Chiasson, big, physical at 5'11" in that division. Yana is like 5'8". I don't know what this 5'6" is. She is definitely not 5'6". But I think Macy Chiasson is going to have the physicality advantage. I think she's going to control the range. Obviously, you're looking at a 3.5-inch reach here. A height discrepancy there. Macy Chiasson is the better striker. Yana Santos is more of kind of a pitter-pat fighter. Typically does use physicality, but like, I'm looking at that Holly Holm fight when she fought Holly. I think it was 2 or 3 fights ago. Holly completely ragdolled her, controlled her. Macy Chiasson's even bigger than Holly. She's decent in the grappling. I think she's just going to bully Yana Santos. Probably to like a 30 or maybe a 29-28 decision. Most of these fights always go to decision. So I'm going to pick Macy Chiasson there to get a pretty one-sided decision. Moving on to the prelims. Damn, that's a lot of early prelims. Jesus. Okay. Prelims. Daniel Santos, Joosang Yu. Daniel Santos isn't bad. He's just not very active, He's not very active. And Joosang Yu, dude, excellent counterpuncher. We saw what he did to Jika Surigay in his debut. And that wasn't even a super hard wind-up shot, dude. It was just like a bink. He was like stepping back, caught the angle, bink, right on the chin. Face planted Jika Surigay. Surigay, whatever the hell. But, he calls himself the Korean Mike Tyson. I think this is like a Korean revenge match here because Daniel Santos is coming over the win over, was it Joosang Young? Ju Young, it's something. Some confusing name. He's coming off a win over a Korean guy in his last fight, who himself was kind of like a up and down journeyman. I think Joosang Yu gets it done here, dude. Like, the grappling is going to be no problem. I think he's decent defensive grappler. And, dude, that power that he has is, like, that's special. I definitely think he can find the chin. If he can put a guy away, like Jake Sergey, with one shot, not even, like, winding up, I think eventually he's going to find the chin of Daniel Santos. I'm going to go round 2 KO for Joosang Yu. God, my eye is twitching so bad. Whew. Man, okay, anyway. Chris Gutierrez, Farid Basharat. I'm gonna go Farid Basharat in this fight, dude. He's a really well-rounded guy, like, in terms of the grappling, his takedown defense, his defensive responsibility on the feet. He's got really good striking defense. And, like, Chris Gutierrez, dude, he's just not active enough. He's just not. He's a good striker, but he just doesn't do nearly enough. Like, you're coming off a, split decision over an unranked opponent in your last fight. God, what was his name? I cannot remember. I'm gonna have to, this is gonna drive me crazy. Because I think I've seen that name on here. Yeah, Castaneda. Split decision, dude. Castaneda is like an up and down fighter in the UFC. The reason that went to a split decision is because, like, the dude just doesn't do enough, right? He just hardly throws punches. Very, very, like, boring and defensive now. Whereas Farid is much more aggressive. You know, he's throwing consistency, throwing volume. You know, it's going to be hard to take him down. I think he can probably take Chris Gutierrez down. Chris Gutierrez doesn't have a very good ability to scramble up. I'm sorry, if I know Song Yadong is good, but if Song Yadong is holding you down and beating the shit out of you, you know, I mean, that's just a bad look. It's a bad look, you know. I know he's good, but still, he's not known for his grappling. He made Song Yadong look like an excellent world-class grappler in that fight. I think Farid beats him on volume, outstrikes him on the feet, maybe initiates a few key takedowns to steal rounds. I'm going to go with 29-28 for Farid Basharat. Because I know Chris is a little bit tricky. He is defensively sound. But, dude, he just doesn't do enough, man. That's why he's going to split decisions over unranked guys. So, Farid Basharat, 29-28. Moving on. Edmen, Shahbazyan, Andre Muniz. I'm going to comfortably say Edmen here because Andre Muniz, he's coming off that knockout loss to, man, my memory is shit today. Oh my God, what is that Dagestani's name? He's coming off that knockout loss to, oh my God. How do I forget this guy's name? You know who I'm talking about. The Dagestani dude with the beard. Oh my God. Jesus. How can I not remember this? I honestly can't remember this. The guy who got knocked out by Robert Whitaker. Jesus, how did I... Alaskarov. Ikram Alaskarov. Jesus. More coffee. More coffee. It's still pretty early here, so... You gotta cut me some slack. He's coming off that knockout loss to Ikram Alaskarov. Pretty chinny guy. Edmen Shahbazyan, I think he's coming off a first round finish. If I can remember that. If I go... Jesus, what is going on here? If I go to Edmen's last fight... Oh, unanimous decision over Petrosky. TKO'd Budka. I know he lost in the grappling to Mearshart. Now, Muniz is a good grappler, but I think he learned his lesson from that fight, right? Petrosky's also a grappler. He held his own in that fight. Edmen did. I like that. I think he'll find the chin of Muniz, dude, because Muniz just doesn't have very good defense on the feet. He doesn't make very good decisions typically in fights. That's why a guy like Paul Craig, you know, TKO'd him on the grounds, got knocked out by Ikram Alaskarov. He just doesn't seem to be a super high IQ fighter. He is talented. He is a strong guy for that division. Very, very high-level grappler. But Edmen just makes better decisions. He's got a better IQ. I think Edmen can get him out of here probably in the first round by a knockout. Moving up. Ateba, Gautier, Treston, Vines. I actually have not even watched anything on Treston Vines because it was supposed to be Ozzy Diaz, which I was going to pick Ateba. Gautier. I'm going to go Treston Vine. Just kidding. I'm going to go Ateba Gautier. Of course, he was going to beat Ozzy Diaz by brutal round 1 knockout. He's going to win by brutal round 1 knockout over Treston Vines. This guy's stepping in on less than a week's notice. Come on, dude. Come on. Like, can we give Ateba, like, somebody, like, right outside the rankings or, you know, 15, 14 kind of ranking here in the middleweight division? This guy's a freight train. He's finishing people left and right in the first round. he's going to get the finish in the first round here by knockout, Ateba Gautier. Moving up. All right. Main card. Abus Magomedov, Joe Pyfer. I wanted to go Abus Magomedov initially, but like, dude, I can't do it. I can't do it simply because that cardio is just shit. And I think it's just because it's not that he's not in good shape. I mean, you look at him, of course he's in good shape. I just think he's so explosive that he just burns through the gas tank so fast that in like round 2 he starts to slow down. By round 3 he's just pretty gassed out there. Joe Pyfer is coming off a 3-round decision over Kelvin Gastelum. He's proved he's got a good gas tank. Did he throw a lot of volume? No, but he's proven he can, pick the shots, fight a very technical fight on the feet. Because he did look good. I think Abus, he comes out and probably, damages the legs in the first round. Probably might even light Joe Pyfer up in the first round. Look really good. Then he's going to slow down in round 2. Pyfer's going to start, landing on him more consistently. Round 3, dude, this guy's going to be completely gassed going into that round. And I think that's where Pyfer's going to put him away. He's going to be gassed. He's going to be much more slow. And Pyfer's going to put him away by knockout. Round 3. I'm calling it. I just can't pick a boost because of that gas tank, dude. And especially when you're fighting at this level against quality guys like Joe Pyfer, you're probably not going to be finishing them. You're probably not going to be finishing them in the first round. And if he's not finishing them in the first round, he just doesn't seem to have much. You look at that Michel Pereira fight. Dude, everybody who's legit has finished that guy. Abus dominated round 1. Looked pretty good in round 2 still. Edged the round. Round 3, dude, he looked like shit. Eked the way out. Eked through the round against Michel Pereira because he slowed down so much. So this is a pretty easy one. Joe Pyfer, round 3, finish. Moving up. Josh Emmett, Youssef Zalal. I'm going to go Youssef Zalal. It's probably going to be pretty boring. Josh Emmett is like, he's like that prototypical wrestler. Like, he's like that 2015, 2016 classic wrestler with an overhand style, right? Stocky. It's like Connor called Chad Mendes. Connor was so spot on. Stocky wrestler with an overhand. That is what Josh Emmett is. He's like that. He's the prototypical dominant stocky wrestler from like 2015 with an overhand who can knock you out if you're not careful, right? He's going to be spamming hooks. He's going to be spamming overhands. Youssef Zalal is going to be picking him apart at range. He's going to be landing and moving, sticking and moving, stinging him maybe with a 1-2 here and then getting out of dodge. It's probably going to be pretty boring. He's going to be circling a lot like his last fight with Cater. He's just going to be bouncing around, popping him. Emmett's going to be trying to hunt him down the whole night, winging hooks, winging overhands. Even if it goes to a grappling, I'm confident Youssef Zalal can hold his own because he's got multiple like submission wins in his UFC career. He's pretty good at scrambling. His takedowns are pretty underrated. I think if he does get taken down, I think he can probably pretty quickly scramble up back to his feet, get back to range, get back to the kind of the boring stick and move style that he normally fights with. So yeah, I think this will be probably a 29-28. It's going to be like similar to the Cater fight. Emmett presents a little more danger, but I think Zalal can circle out, circle away, stick and move, stay on his bike all night, scramble back up if he does get taken down by Emmett, and just kind of have kind of a boring 29-28 decision. Moving on. Yuri Prochazka, Khalil Roundtree Jr. This is such a hard fight here, man. Like, there's so much to unpack here. Let's start with Khalil, right? Like, the pros of Khalil, probably one of the best strikers in the division. Nast, probably the best, most damaging leg kicks in the division. Yeah, that's, obviously has the power. Can finish fights with oblique kicks, leg kicks. Really slow his opponents down. Really good overhands. Really good, right and left hooks. Just all around a solid Muay Thai style striker, right? Now the cons, One, he never mixes in any grappling whatsoever. He just refuses to do it. So that kind of makes him one-dimensional. Two, the level of competition he's fought outside of Pereira and Jamal Hill is just not there like it is for a Yuri. Now, let's go to Yuri. Yuri, obviously, the pros for Yuri is like he puts on a tremendous amount of pressure. He kind of lulls guys into these wars where it's like he's like pressuring you and throwing so much fucking so many varying attacks at you at once that it's like he almost lulls you into having to throw back, having to get into these little wars. Like you watch these guys he fights and it's like he lulls them into a war. Like they come in wanting to be technical and conservative and he just like forces them into a dogfight and nobody's beating this guy at a dogfight, right? Unless you can put him out like Alex Pereira, you're probably not going to beat him in a dogfight. He's good. He's very well rounded. He does have a takedown game. Very, very dangerous top game if he does get you down. And a very, very underrated ability to land punches, right? Because like he throws such wide looping crazy shit, but it always seems to land. And obviously he has a tremendous amount of power to put dudes away. Now the cons for Yuri Prochazka, dude, he gets hit so much. This guy, like I was watching the Yuri marathon yesterday on the UFC, that the UFC video just released. That didn't make any sense. I was watching the UFC video they dropped with the fight marathon of Yuri. There we go. There we go. I can speak. Woohoo! But dude, this guy, I was watching that and I'm like, this guy is Yuri Prochazka is the light heavyweight version of a prime Tony Ferguson. Seriously, he just has it's constant pressure. It's fucking wild, unorthodox striking that seems to be effective and land and hurt his opponents and damage them. But the amount of damage this guy takes every fight, I'm telling you right now, this guy is going to have a Tony Ferguson arc in his career where he's like one of the top guys. It's a little bit different because Tony never fought for the belt. Dude, eventually Yuri Prochazka is going to go on a massive decline because his chin can't hold up. Outside of Pereira, no one's been able to like chin this guy, right? No one's been able to chin this guy. And that kind of worries me with Yuri, right? I'm going to tell you right now, the amount of damage he takes. I'm watching all his fights. This guy almost always has to fucking come from behind to get a victory. After he's taken 47 significant head strikes, you know, he'll land a big shot and come back and finish these guys off by TKO or by knockout. Now with Khalil, it's like we look at both their last fights, Jamal Hill, right? Yuri Prochazka kind of went to war with Jamal Hill. He did show improved head movement, but at the same time, like I'm watching that fight and I'm like, it wasn't much improved head movement. He was still getting cracked. Jamal Hill actually looked pretty good in that fight. He made Jamal Hill look like much better in that fight. Jamal Hill came back round 2, won it. Round 3 was doing pretty decent. Was landing on Yuri. Landing on him consistently with damaging shots, significant strikes. Before Yuri eventually dropped him, Jamal Hill got up. He dropped him again, finished him off on the ground. If Yuri gets you hurt, dude, you're fucked. You're done. There's no hope of coming back. He's going to pounce on you. His ground and pound is nasty. But it's just like, I'm watching that fight, and then I'm watching Khalil make Jamal Hill look like an absolute clown on the feet for 25 minutes. Jamal Hill hardly landed anything super significant, right? Khalil beat his legs up, dropped him like 3 times in that fight, and just completely picked him apart at range for 25 minutes. Very, very clean, one-sided, 50-45 type of victory, right? That being said, like, I feel like Jamal played right into the hands of Khalil because he just chose to sit there at range. Jamal Hill typically is not a big pressure fighter. He was pressuring Khalil, but every time he would come forward, Khalil would be chopping that leg, chopping a body kick, landing an overhand or a right hook, right? Like, Jamal Hill was so compromised that he really couldn't put a tremendous amount of pressure on Khalil throughout that fight, and he just kind of had to stick out on an island at range with Khalil, right? It does worry me for Khalil because Yuri is going to be putting on a tremendous amount of pressure. And if, like, Khalil doesn't have that high and tight guard, and is really willing to be patient, like, he can get knocked out here. Prochazka can find that chin. That being said, like, I'm sitting here watching Prochazka take all this damage to get a victory, and I'm like, dude, how long is his chin? I mean, obviously Pereira found the chin twice. But I'm like, at what point does this guy start going on a massive decline in his career? That is because this fight style is not a longevity-based fight style, dude. Your body eventually is going to betray you, like it did to a Ferguson, and you're gonna start getting folded left and right. You're gonna go on a massive downfall. And I'm wondering how close we are to that with Yuri. Does he have one more come from behind victory? Because you know Khalil's probably gonna come out in round 1, damage him. He's going to be damaging the legs. He's probably going to land some really good shots. Yuri he's not, like, his whole thing is just pressure, relying on that chin, throwing a various type of strikes, kind of like mentally exhausting you, flowing you into a war, which will physically exhaust you. If Khalil can stay defensively sound and not engage in that shit, and just pick his strikes, kind of like he did in the Jamal Hill fight, chop the legs, chop body kicks, stay with that high and tight guard when Yuri's throwing all that crazy shit. Land that looping right hook, left hook, land an overhand. I think he can find that chin of Yuri and put him away. I am nervous though, just because, like, you're looking at a 3.5-inch reach disadvantage here. You're looking at, like, the bigger guy in Yuri. This is going to be a much tougher fight than Jamal Hill for Khalil Roundtree. Like, this is such a 50-50 matchup, dude. It really is. It's just like, who can impose the game? Like, can Khalil stay defensively responsible, pick those shots against Yuri, damage the legs, not get lulled into a back and forth dogfight with Yuri? Or is Yuri going to find a way, dude, to find that chin? I do think he's going to be much harder to hit than Jamal. But, like, the fact that it's a 3-rounder kind of, like, favors Khalil, in my opinion. If it was 25, I think Yuri would eventually get him in round 4 or 5. This is a tough one, man. This is a tough one. I know a lot of people are picking Yuri here, and it's, it makes sense because of the level of competition between the two. Like, you cannot compare them. Like, Yuri has been fighting at the top of this division for probably 5 years at this point. You know what? Fuck it. I'm going to go with Khalil Roundtree. I'm going to count on Khalil Roundtree to stay defensively responsible, chop the legs every time Yuri's coming forward, really damage the lead leg of Yuri. I mean, obviously, Yuri switches stances. I think he can do decent, sufficient damage to at least slow him down a bit with both legs, because he does switch stance a lot. He comes forward a lot. I think he could tax the body of Yuri, maybe slow down the gas tank a little bit there. And I think he stays defensively responsible, right? I think it's going to be a back and forth fight. It will. But I can see Khalil Roundtree putting Yuri Prochazka away second round. I think he can land the punch. Dude, I don't know. Yuri, just the amount of punishment he takes, man, like, this might be the straw that breaks the camel's back with him. Like, I could see this being it, because Khalil does have good power, very precise striking. And the fact that he damages the wills from underneath these guys makes these guys slow down. He likes to go to the body as well. Nasty body kicks, good body punches. I think if he can slow Yuri down, that will make Yuri even more hittable than he already is. And I think I'm going to go with Khalil Roundtree to get the big upset, put him away in round 2. Hard fight to pick, but let's move on. All right, Merab Dvalishvili, Corey Sandhagen. I'm going to go Merab here. I think it's going to be a much tougher fight, obviously, than O'Malley, right? Corey Sandhagen is going to stuff a shitload of those takedowns. But it's like, okay, well, what happens if Corey stuffs Merab's takedowns? Well, Merab's going to shoot 50 more takedowns. And he's going to bounce around like the Tasmanian devil. And attack the body, and attack the head, and jump back 10 feet out of range before you have a chance to counter. And then he's going to jump back in, land a couple more strikes, jump out of range. And then you're going to try to counter him, and he's going to dip under for a takedown. You're going to stuff that. And then he's going to come up and throw 3 different strikes at you and then jump back down for another takedown. And it's just the activity. Like, he forces guys to look bad, dude. Like, he forces guys to, like, kind of fight outside themselves, and, like, he frustrates them because he's just so spastic in his movement. He never runs out of cardio. You have to account just for one facet of his game. You have to account for 50 takedowns a fight coming at you, right? You have to account to just to defend that is just a tremendous amount of work. Then if he doesn't get the takedowns, he's shown improved striking. Because you're so damn concerned about the takedowns, that allows him to land on the feet, right? And he does have decent striking, especially when he gets you against the cage. You know, he'll go to the body, come upstairs with a hook, right? I mean, it's not super pretty like Sean O'Malley level striking, but it is improving simply because the wrestling opens that pathway up to him a lot more than most guys. I definitely think Corey Sandhagen will have his moments. Might even win a couple rounds of this fight. I just think, dude, it's just too much to ask. You know, especially for a guy, he doesn't have the level of grappling Merab does. He doesn't have the leveling of grappling Umar did. That's why Umar was able to fight off those takedowns early, but even Umar succumbed to the pace. And just the Tasmanian-like approach of Merab in those, like, 4th and 5th rounds, dude. You started seeing those takedowns come more frequently from Merab. And that was, like, his hardest test in the division. A guy who's even to him when it comes to the grappling, right? Corey does have good grappling. He's got good ground defense, but it's like, you know, you can still lose the decision that way. You know, he looked real good in his grappling defense in the Umar fight, but he still lost the fight, man. He still lost the fight. He lost the positions. He got outstruck on the feet. I know Merab, he doesn't have Umar level striking. I know that. Doesn't have, you know, that kind of speed and precision that Umar has, but, like, I just think he's going to force Corey to have to fight an ugly-ass fight. I think Corey will give a really good account of himself. I think we'll all respect Corey a lot more after this. I think Merab, with those pacing and takedowns, it's going to edge him the fight. I got Merab probably going 49-48 decision. There'll be some close moments. Overall, you know, decently close fight, but Merab will be the clear winner when that final bell rings in the 5th round. 49-48 and still. Now, main event, Pereira, Ankalaev. According to these guys, you know, they're both going to come in more aggressive. Dude, I think the UFC is going to be real depressed after this. Dude, they need Pereira to win so fucking bad. And honestly, like, I was thinking about this as I'm like, okay, suppose Pereira wins the belt back. Tom Aspinall defends against Cyril Gane. Super fight? It's a super fight, maybe? But it's not going to happen. I'm going to go Magomed Ankalaev. I do think these guys are going to come out more aggressive, and that definitely favors Ankalaev. He's got the boxing advantage. He's got the hand speed advantage. He does have a grappling advantage despite all of his takedowns getting stuffed last time. The fact that he has that grappling in the first place is what slows a guy like Pereira down and forces him to be cognizant of that approach. He was so fucking focused on the grappling in his last fight that he never really opened up on the feet. It was a close fight. After that fight, it was kind of like, did Ankalaev really just, like, solidify that? I don't think, but he did win. He did edge the fight. He did hold Pereira up against the cage, right? Round 4, round 5. Had a lot of control time there. Was knee in the body, knee in the leg. He did wobble Pereira at one point, which leads me to believe if both guys come out more aggressive, then I think Ankalaev probably puts him away. Round 2, round 3, maybe? Because if you're Pereira, it's like, what do you have to lose, dude? Are you going to go out there and do the same shit as last fight and lose a close decision? Because that's exactly what will happen. Ank puts the pressure on, lands good leg kicks. Now, I know Pereira did some damage to his legs last time. It didn't really seem to affect his movement much. It really didn't. He ate those, kept coming forward, wobbled him in round 2 or 3, one of those, and just, like, was the more active fighter all night. Like, his hand speed allows him to dart in and out of range, too, dude. He's a fast, athletic, light heavyweight. And, dude, the boxing is just always going to be a problem for a guy like Alex Pereira. Because Alex Pereira, he just can't get into that flow state with a guy like Ank. The leg kicks don't seem to really damage him or deter him that much. So it's like you're honestly counting on a big power shot to land on the chin of Ankalaev, I think, in order to beat him. Besides that, it's like what? It's going to be a repeat of the last fight with Ankalaev winning a close decision. That's your option, you know. So I think he's going to come in and be like, dude, fuck it, this is all or nothing for me. This is do or die for me. I think these guys are going to grit down. They're going to spend some time in the pocket, and I think the speed of Ankalaev is going to find the chin of Alex Pereira. Let's go round 3. I do think they'll start out pretty cautious, despite all the shit they've been talking in the media. I do think there's a mutual respect there. They'll start slow. It'll be a feeling out process. Ankalaev will probably edge, the rounds early. Pereira might land some decent strikes. And then I just think it's going to get to a point where Alex is like, God damn it, dude. I'm on my way to losing another close decision here. I've got to do something. And I think he's going to get aggressive. I think he's going to try to get aggressive. The hand speed of Ankalaev is going to be his downfall, right? Because he's going to find that chin. He's going to be able to do it. He puts Alex Pereira away. Round 3. And still, Magomed Ankalaev. Yeah, you never know. Ankalaev Aspinall. I don't know, man. I don't know. I'm just spitballing. I'm throwing shit out there. So yeah, that is the picks for UFC 320. Like and subscribe. Let me know your thoughts, your picks in the comments. Until next time, see ya.